Every minute. One second. Let me just search up this word. That was literally our whole conversation. Every conversation. Every conversation was like that.
There is literally no reason why at age 23 I would just randomly decide to pick up a language. Fair enough, we're in a pandemic, but you know, as things started to open, I could have just been like, cool, I'm done.
Hola a todos.
Welcome to the first episode of Hermosas Chicas Negras with us, your hosts, Paula,
Diane,
and Ayo,
your amigas en línea, here to keep you encouraged and accountable on your journey to Spanish conversational fluency.
That's right. Okay, so today we are going to get into our first topic, and it is learning Spanish as an adult. So, Diane, Paula, let's take it to the table. When did you first start learning Spanish, Paula?
So I only started a year ago. It's pretty recent. It's a new hobby I kind of picked up, turned lifestyle. So I was officially 23. I was an adult.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And can I just stop you? You said
Only.
only.
I didn't have to. I know.
You know I was gonna.
I always says this to me, like, it's not just only. I'm
go.
definitely early in my journey compared to you both, but it's not only. Every part of my journey is important, even if it's only been a month or only been 2 months. 100%. You know, you've been learning the language for 2 months, and it's super exciting. So it's been a year and a half for me.
Come on now, speak with that energy. And just following off the back of what you said, actually, I actually started when I was 23 as well. So
lucky age.
So I'm 28 years young at the moment. Time of this recording. Come on now. And yes, I've been learning since 5 years now. How about you?
As for me and my household, I've been learning Spanish since I was in secondary school, like the majority of people. But then I started learning again for myself when I was in my first year of university in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess that's about 5 years too, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, 5 years.
What people here will learn is that we are in like different parts of our journey, but it's all really exciting
100%.
and coming together. I don't know for you guys anyway, coming together for me has been a huge part of my Spanish journey.
Yeah.
So sharing that, I'm very, very muy emocionada. Like,
Come
I'm very excited.
Literal.
Very excited.
Do you know what, Paula? Based on what you just said, I feel like we need to let you know how we even met. So let's just give...
Sí.
Okay, because the thing is, we are tres chicas who can literally chat. Like, we chat sometimes. Like, our conversations, they go on, right? So let's just give them, like, how did we meet?
De verdad, es una historia bien largo.
Larguísimo.
Sí, de verdad.
Very, very long.
It's a really long story. So, okay, I met Ayo through a friend, actually. I had found Ayo's because I got a YouTube channel, guys.
I got a YouTube channel.
She got a YouTube channel, okay? And I found your first How You Learned Spanish video, but I didn't know her at the time. I met her after that because yourself and one of my friends went to the same church, and then we ended up meeting at an event. As far as Paula, we actually met real recent, guys, really recently at a vision board party.
Vision board. Was it 2019 or was it 2020? 'Cause I can't remember.
It was
December
2019
for
the year of 2020. That's how I met
and you
yourself.
inspired me. So I remember meeting Diane and she was like, oh yeah, I did a year living in Spain. And at the time I felt really stuck in my job. I felt a bit like, I don't know, I just needed something to shake it up. And I really wanted to like do something. And I was thinking, maybe I'll go to another country, learn another language. Wow. But again, I was a bit like, okay, calm down, Paula. I met Diane and meeting another black woman who'd actually gone to like a different country and then picked up a language. I said, okay, kept that in the back of my mind. And we now fast forward to maybe 3 or 4 months later, a pandemic hits. Everyone's looking for a new pandemic skill. And you know, while people are baking bread, listen, I'm really gluten intolerant. What baking bread for me?
I'm done.
I said, I'm going to do something that will actually impact me positively. And I thought, okay, I'm going to pick up a language. And I remembered you saying, I lived in Madrid. I said, I always thought Spanish was a beautiful language, but I said, okay, hermosa, idioma hermosa, seriously. And I said, okay, well, this is going to be my time. And I picked Spanish. And I remember thinking in the back of my mind, like, Diane went to Madrid. I'm going to go to Madrid.
Wow.
And that's where Madrid came from. That's where my Spanish, that's literally where Madrid came from for me.
Guys, I didn't even know this either.
Yeah. And because she had done a program, she had done like a specific program. I went to go find that program and best believe I applied. Best believe I got in. And I was when I tell you, people are going to be so inspirational and they don't even know. We met and we were with each other for like 3 hours that day. And I went away and found this same program, applied. I wasn't really thinking anything of it. Applied, got in, and was supposed to go and live in Madrid. Obviously, pandemic and that. But I was ready. I said, bye, parents. Bye, siblings. Madrid, here I am. And so, you really inspired that. And that was the first. And I didn't expect to meet you again. So, you really inspired that.
Oh, thank you. How about you two? How did you guys actually meet?
I
want to hear it, girl.
Okay. So ours is very recent. So I had gotten to my first year anniversary in Spanish. So which would have been April 2021. And I was very proud of myself. Like, this was the first thing I had like reached a streak on, and I had Duolingo saying, oh my gosh, 365 days of Spanish. And I made a video basically like talking about the resources I used. Like I also have a YouTube channel. I made the video.
Come on.
Melissa. Talking about the videos that I used, and also the resources online and stuff like that, because I'm completely self-taught. Like, I didn't learn it in school or anything.
Right.
And one of the beautiful people I saw was one Miss I over here.
Come on now.
And the reason she stuck out to me was she was black, she was British, she was Nigerian, she was a Christian, and she never hid any of those things. I remember watching one video and being like, is this me? Like, I remember, I literally was like, this could be me. Like, this is me. I was like, I don't know how to explain it, but you know when people say representation matters, and we always say, oh, whatever.
That's
it
facts.
really does. I watched Io's video and I said, okay, well, cool, I'm doing it then.
Wow.
Sis is doing a whole video in Spanish. I will be doing videos in Spanish too. Like,
That's
I said, it's
amazing.
happening. So anyway, I make this video talking about the resources I use. I then tag each of the channels, not realizing that YouTube actually alerts the creators themselves. And then I go on Instagram and I see one Miss Ayo has like posted my video on her Instagram and tagged me in it. And I was like, oh, wow, hey. And she was like, we must collab. And you know when people say, let's collab, and you never hear it of it again. But we actually were in each other's DMs. We planned something. We both realized we both knew you.
Yes.
We said the three of us, let's talk. Do you remember it was supposed to be like a one call thing?
Listen.
And you know what? Yeah. Before we jump into that, let me share my perspective on even meeting Paula, because this particular day, right? So one thing about me is I have perfectionist tendencies. So for example, I want everything to be perfect. So when I started off on YouTube, for me, it was divine instruction from God, you know, basically telling me in obedience to start this YouTube channel for girls and young women. So I'm out here like, okay, cool. Every Tuesday, gonna upload these YouTube videos.
And you're consistent.
100%.
By God's grace, thank you. So there was this one particular day when I tell you my week was heavy. And literally, I felt like God was saying to me, Ayo, I need you to rest. And I said, rest? No. We have to upload this YouTube video. And I'm here like, no, I need to upload this YouTube video. But then I felt like God was saying to me, but if I'm asking you to rest, then why do you feel like you need to do this in your own strength? So in that moment when I was feeling really, really down, because this is someone who, you know, has perfection tendencies, who wants to do everything, you know, consistently. And sometimes that means I can try and do it in my own strength as opposed to surrender to God's strength, right? So I'm here like, you know, down like, God, am I really hearing from you? Is this you? Is this me? So I'm wrestling with this thing, this thought, right? And then randomly, when I finally agreed to just say, okay, God, I'm going to rest and I'm not going to upload this YouTube video today because I'm absolutely knackered and I can't give what I don't have, right?
Right.
I just suddenly go on YouTube and I see that I've been notified by someone. And then I watch Paula's video, and no word of a lie, I almost was in tears.
Aww.
And the reason why I was almost in tears was because it was in that very moment where I felt like I needed to perform, to do amazing things, where it was just like, listen, even in your rest, you're inspiring
100%.
people. You
Come
don't
on now.
always have to be so active. So when I then saw Paula's, like, she has no idea how much it literally was she has no idea how like encouraging it was, because in that moment I was technically really, really down. So I just uploaded, you know, my feelings and just my transparency on Instagram. Not to say like I put out all my business on Instagram like that, but I just mean in the context of also using what God was doing with me in that moment to inspire other people. So I do this. So I tag Paula, and then I'm just like, no, let's definitely collab. And it's interesting because I don't necessarily really say that, but again, even us being here together, Hermosas Chicas Negras, this is just a testimony of God's work 100%. In and of itself, right? So yeah, that was my perspective in terms of, you know, meeting Paula, and just basically, I then said to Paula that we should do a collab, right? Because Diane wasn't even in the picture at this point, at this time. But as God would have it, Deanne randomly.
I was just about to let the people
let's
know.
Let's go to you.
Yeah.
Because, okay, cool. So, and by the way, we are coming to just like, you know, how we learnt Spanish as an adult and stuff like that. But we just want to give you context.
100%.
And people need to
100%.
understand that we're so integral to each other's journey.
Absolutely.
Especially both of you to mine, because I had really just started.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, after the first year, I didn't know if I was going to continue, and I didn't know how far I could progress.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
meeting you both where you were like, no, let's talk. No, let's talk in Spanish. Speak in Spanish.
Yeah.
It came out, it was now no longer just me in my apartment speaking,
go.
watching Netflix. It
Yeah.
was now, hola,
Yeah.
¿cómo estás?
Yes,
Like,
tienes que hablar, mi amor.
you know,
Okay.
it was like hablar, like open your mouth and speak. And like, if I didn't reach you guys in that part of my journey, I don't know if I would have sustained it.
100%.
I love that. And you know what? The another thing about this podcast is we're all about accountability.
See.
And we're going to come to that in later episodes. But all right, over to you. So you were going to say from your perspective.
It's just so, whenever we speak about this, you see we get really excited because this was nothing that we could have planned in our
Absolutely.
own minds or in our own strength, right?
Yeah.
So unawares of the conversation that these two had, because I follow both of them on Instagram. Obviously, we're friends. Hello. So I had seen Paula's video on YouTube, and then I saw Ayo's reaction on Instagram. And I remember seeing it and being like, oh my gosh, I know these people. But the gag is, although that Ayo and I knew each other, we hadn't really spoken like that. I went to one of her speaking events. You should definitely go when she holds the next one, guys, just saying.
Amazing international speaker.
Period.
Oh, thank you.
However, we hadn't actually like formed our own proper relationship
Absolutely.
yet.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. I remember, no, because it's so funny because I remember as I was going to, basically, I was in my room and I just felt led to send Ayo a message, right? I think I was going to, I sent her a message and I was like, this girl's going to think I'm a beg. No, genuinely, I was like, this woman is going to think I'm such a beg. Who is this little girl coming to message me on WhatsApp in the evening? Like, I genuinely was like, she's actually going to think I'm a beg, but you know what? Let me just do it because I knew I was supposed to. So I had sent her a message, and that's actually why I didn't call you, because I was like, it would be better if I send her a message, because at least then if she sees it and she doesn't say anything, I won't feel that bad, right? But it's funny because your audio at the time wasn't working, so I had sent you like a voice note, just introduce myself, like speaking a little bit, and it was from that conversation that we started speaking in Spanish together. Actually, that was the first time.
You remember?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, because I thought we were going to start off on the WhatsApp, but because of the audio issue, I remember us talking on the phone, and that was the first time that we had spoken properly, and we ended up speaking about our Spanish journeys.
We spoke for an hour and a half.
Oh, we were speaking for a long time. We were speaking
time.
for a long time, and I knew I was supposed to speak to you on that day because the depth that we were talking on, like we were being really vulnerable, really, really honest about the struggles that we had had, the confidence issues that we had, even just to speak Spanish to each other. So it's crazy. It's actually crazy.
This makes me laugh. Sorry, I'm just
laughing
because fast forwarding a little bit into the journey. Now we have conversations fluently in Spanish, and we're just like that. And then like I think like 2 months ago, we were reflecting. And we were saying, remember we used to stutter?
Yes, guys. No, Paula. Literally every minute. One second. Let me just search up this word. That was literally our whole conversation.
¿Cómo se dice?
Every conversation. Every
favorite
conversation
thing.
was like
that.
that.
Oh my gosh! And como se dice literally means how do
you say? So that's how we had started, like our proper in-depth conversation regarding Spanish. And Ayo had then messaged. It's so Lord, you. Anyways, no, because
he be working.
He really does be working, because Ayo had messaged me and was like, "Oh yeah, I'd spoken to Paula and we're gonna do a conversation." And I think you had invited me, and I was like, "Yeah, definitely, I'm down for the Zoom call." Because we really thought it was gonna be a one-time thing.
Like one Zoom
Let me
call.
get
one collab.
100%. Let me get content for my little Instagram. Let you get content for your little YouTube. You know, I really thought we really thought it was gonna be a one-time thing.
We were like, oh, it'll be like a 10-minute video, 5-minute video.
100%. These times we couldn't even see each other physically,
Oh my
so we were just gonna record the Zoom and let it be that.
Literally.
However, God had other plans, because here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. with Hermosas Chicas Negras.
And we actually speak every week.
Every single week.
We have a WhatsApp group chat.
Literally. Wow.
And it was really interesting on setting up the WhatsApp group chat. So after this now, so I invite Deanne and we have this idea.
The
so
name.
literally,
the name.
So literally how the name came about was Paula and I, because we didn't have each other's number at this point, we're just talking on Instagram DM, like how we're going to collab. You know, I say, okay, cool, let's pick a time and date to meet, etc., etc. I've invited Deanne through WhatsApp, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Do you know what, Deanne? I'm having a conversation with Deanne. I'm having a conversation with Paula. Let's bring this together. Let's start a WhatsApp group. And then I'm like, okay, cool. About to start this WhatsApp group. I open WhatsApp to start this chat, and then I'm like, what do I call it? And literally, divine inspiration, Holy Spirit says, Hermosas Chicas Negras.
And if you wondered what that means,
Come on now. Let them know.
Beautiful.
Come on.
Black.
Come on.
Women.
Come on.
Because that's what we be.
Literal.
Come on now.
See?
El
punto. Okay.
We're going to get more into punto much later. But literally, that's how it came about. And then we started the group chat. And it was interesting because as conversations went on, Paula and Deanne, you both let me know that, do you know what? From time when we set the group chat up and we had that name, instinctively, all of us just knew that, nah, this is bigger than just a Zoom call, and we didn't even know what it was at that time. And when was this group chat actually? When did we set up the group chat?
This was, I want to say,
It
like
was during the summer.
It was during the summer. Yeah.
We had our first proper Hermosas Chicas Negras meeting in July, so it was probably end of June, probably.
So July
that's
2021.
recent.
Yeah.
That's very recent.
Yeah.
At the time of filming, it's currently October 2021. So we need you to understand the time frames that we're working were very quick. It was very, very ordained.
100%. When
Very
God wants to
ordained.
do something, he gonna do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So that's just to give you context for like our journey and how we met each other and basically the ages that we started learning Spanish.
Yeah.
So we're going deeper into this question of how to learn Spanish as adults. And well, you weren't an adult when you started, but you know, we were adults as we started. And to be fair, even in you saying you weren't an adult, let's briefly touch on the fact that there was a pause. You may have
very big pause.
Yeah, so could you just touch on that?
Yeah,
briefly?
definitely. So as most people do in secondary school, I learned Spanish alongside my classmates, and I knew that there was something about it, and I was just like, I really want to learn this language, but I didn't take Spanish forward for college, because I remember actually going to Spain and being like, well, I can't actually speak this language, so no, literally, guys, my mum used to get onto me. She would be, what are you learning in school then? What are you actually learning? Because I went into like shops and stuff and I couldn't communicate because Spanish is all about communicating.
And you say this all the time, and I appreciate you.
I do.
This is what sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
But sometimes I get like, oh, I can't say this. And Deanne will be like, the point of the language is to communicate.
See?
If you can
100%.
say this, and this, and the person could understand what you mean, you're
Success.
communicating.
100%.
And it's really important that as beginner learners or whatever stage you're at, that you remember that language is about communication. If the people you're communicating to can understand you, it really doesn't matter. For now anyway, it really doesn't matter that you're not, the most eloquent, because
Absolutely.
been there,
Trust
been
me.
there.
Definitely.
And the fact of the matter is, sorry, just before you
No,
continue,
go.
Deanne, is we're still on this journey. Deanne started learning when she started
Come
learning.
on.
I've been learning for a few years. Paula's a year into her journey, or over a year into her journey. Listen, there are things that at 6 years, coming up to 6 years in the game, that you're longer than me, but we're still learning. So it's like that never-ending journey. Someone might look at me and be like, wow, tú hablas español muy bien, ayo. You speak Spanish really good, ayo. But to me, I'm like, oh, well, I'm trying to get there. So it's just like, that's also something to bear in mind as well. But back over to you.
So after secondary school, as I said, I didn't take it on into college, but I knew that it was something that I wanted to continue. So I did like classes here and there, but this being the UK that it is, there wasn't... I didn't connect with any of the things that I was being offered. So whether it be classes or courses, and there's many things out there which we'll talk about in future episodes, but I didn't really connect with anything. So when I got to university, it was my plan to study Spanish in my first year as like one of my electives, let's say. But the way our university worked, it didn't really work out that way. So I'd started doing like an additional course, like outside of my degree, and that wasn't really working for me. And then I started actually doing online tutoring with Amber Gonzalez. If you know Spanish, you probably know who she is. So, but in that time, Spanish was always something that I had around, whether it be like music or YouTube, but I didn't actually properly start and decide, I'm going to learn this language on my own until I got to university. So I was a teen, young adult. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. So let's transition into why we started learning Spanish. Let's get into the why.
Do you know what? I want to mention something. We recently went to a Latin Life festival, Latino Life in London. And it was amazing. It was obviously the first kind of event like that I've been to. And I remember coming home grinning. Oh yeah, there were quite a few of us. And I came home grinning, just like so happy, like just hearing Spanish everywhere from different dialects from different countries, because this is another thing. I don't know if you're new to Spanish, you might be surprised to hear that there's so many different like types of Spanish depending on what country it is, and obviously there's actual like Spanish from Spain as well. And it was really interesting to go to this event, because we met a guy early as we came into the event, and he said, oh, like, why are you guys learning Spanish? Yeah. Do you remember when I said, do you want the real answer? And I said, God told me to?
Yeah.
Legit, that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Come on now.
There is literally no reason why at age 23 I would just randomly decide to pick up a language. Fair enough, we're in a pandemic, but you know, as things started to open, I could have just been like, cool, I'm done. Yeah. Genuinely, I feel like this is a God ordained thing that for me, part of my purpose or purposes is to do what I do. I work in digital and social media in Spanish. Whether that is me in the UK doing that, or whether that's me in Spain or you know, Mexico or anywhere, like having this additional language is never going to be a barrier. It's going to actually help reach more people with the message.
No, because guys, did you just hear the word that she just dropped?
Una palabra.
Come on.
Una palabra.
Una bomba. En México es como una bomba.
Una bomba. Qué bomba. De verdad.
I just believe I've always lived my life in the way that part of my purpose is to convey a message. Yeah. You know, for us as Christians, it's the gospel, whatever the like thing specific to your life is. Yeah. And for me, that hasn't changed, but it's come twice. It's now in English. Yeah. Y in Espanol. Like, and so I just knew that I needed to do that. And that's why I've been able to be so consistent. And that's what's actually driven me to keep going.
Wow.
Come on now. Wow. I love that.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, so inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you, friend.
So just following on what you from what you said in terms of how I learned why I started learning Spanish. So I was in a relationship at the time when I first started learning, but a year prior to that, my partner at the time, he had asked me, he said, oh, let's learn Spanish together. I said, Iwa Titani, which basically means in my language, you and who. It's not going to be me.
Polyglots.
Which basically means it's not going to be me and you. And he asked me, and I was just like, no, I just dismissed it very quickly. He asked me again the following year, January 2016 at this point, if my math is correct. And he says, let's learn Spanish. And I remember just dismissing it, being like, no, I don't want to learn Spanish. Like, this is a dream you have. I have no interés para aprender español, por favor. ¿Sí?
Por favor.
Por favor. And then, you know, at the time I was working in a sales role. And I just remember having this sort of like light bulb in my mind, thinking, hold on for a second. You mean to tell me, and I was working in sales. So I, at the time, like, listen, if you did a good deal, like, listen, you are just up there. And I, by God's grace, I was doing really, really well. So I thought to myself, hold on, if this company was to go bust and they could only keep a few people and I was Spanish speaking and English speaking, my goodness, that would mean a lot of opportunity. So from there, I just Googled reasons to learn Spanish. And I then came to realize that it was the second, well, at the time, third most spoken language in the world. Yeah. And I thought to myself, okay, eso significa que hay muchísimas oportunidades, which basically means I realized that there were loads of opportunities. Yeah. And then with my partner at the time, asking me, let's learn Spanish, me going on Google, me having this, idea about the work the company I was working for, the combination of that was like, okay, cool. Do you know what? Let's start this journey. So that's basically why I started. But then at the time, you know, the relationship since came to an end in 2018. And I literally, since that point, at first I was like, do I still carry on with this Spanish learning? Because the fact of the matter is, at the time, he was kind of my motivation to learn. As he, like, he was sort of like what triggered it, should I say, but God has a plan for everything, right? So he sort of like was the catalyst to me learning this language. But come 2018, I did take a bit of a break. I did go on a bit of a pause, but then I started to find deeper reasons as to why to learn Spanish, because at this point I had started with my speaking career and stuff like that, and I was invited to speak Spanish in El Salvador, and from there it just basically expanded. So it started, with me just seeing the benefits. And now it's like, I have, by God's grace, next year a speaking engagement in Mexico. And it's going to be completely in Spanish. And it's tied so deeply with my purpose and what God has called me to do with girls and young women. So, that's basically my why. And it's very deep at the moment.
I love that.
How about you, lovely?
For myself, do you know what? Because we've actually had similar conversations just amongst the three of us before, and it was only in you guys first asking me that question that I was like, okay, why actually did I learn Spanish? And upon reflection, I've actually always had an affinity for languages, and it didn't actually start with Spanish.
Come on.
I in secondary school, outside of the lessons that I was doing, I used to ask my friends that I knew that spoke different languages how to say things in their languages. So that's kind of where it started. But as far as Spanish goes, I just remember during like Spanish lessons, I just was like, I'm going to learn this language. I'm going to learn this language. And as I sort of looked more into it for myself, like on YouTube, etc., I just was like, no, it is by force that I will learn. It was literally, even from secondary school, I just knew this is something that I want to be a part of my life. And it wasn't until much later that kind of God's plan and his purpose for me learning language became apparent. It was just something that I knew. I always had the vision of having bilingual kids. That's just what it was going to be. Like by force or by fire.
That's something we've all said, right?
Yeah.
We've all been like, our kids will be able to speak another language.
Listen, 100%. Husband, our kids,
come on,
they gonna be bilingual.
100%, 100%. So, actually, I should actually mention this also, but this didn't actually influence my wanting to learn Spanish. I'm Jamaican and Cuban.
Come on.
I was gonna say, is that going to come up at any point?
But do you know what's so funny? That had nothing to do with me wanting to learn Spanish at all.
People that don't know, they speak Spanish in Cuba.
So, that's essentially why I wanted to learn. I just always had it as a goal of, I want this to be a part of my life. I remember from being young, like just daydreaming and having visions regarding like me speaking to Spanish, like speaking to Latino people in different countries, etc. And with time, I've definitely learned it's a part of my purpose. And if you guys don't know, I'm a writer, I'm a blogger, and I do different blogs and articles and stuff. And even on Instagram, some of my content is also in Spanish, so it is also much like Ayo to inspire young women in their journey, particularly with faith and lifestyle in Spanish.
Come on, look at you giving me goosebumps down my back.
Stop.
Do you remember? Do you remember when you used to do, or you still do, your stories? Like you'll do your day in Spanish on your stories. I remember before I started Spanish, you did that one day, I had just started, and I said, oh my gosh, Diana, I've been learning Spanish. And you said, oh, hey, check out these videos. And you put me on to, I need to mention this. You put me on to Amber, who is a big YouTuber who does a lot of like languages. And again, she's a black woman, which I was explicitly looking for black women that were in this game. And because I was watching her videos, the YouTube algorithm started to know me better and started to push black YouTubers that were doing Spanish. So that's why when you watch, if you do, please do. But if you do watch my video, my videos about learning Spanish, you will see that a lot of the people I list down are black YouTubers. It's because the algorithm.
Come on, English.
Espanol.
That one's where you're multilingual.
Literally, you know what I mean? My mind is doing subtitles. The algorithm started to know me so well that it was pushing black YouTubers, which is why I got served IELTS content. So when I tell you that everything just works full circle, if it wasn't for Diana, I wouldn't know who Amber was. And I wouldn't have watched that live that you guys did. That lesson. I wouldn't have watched that. And I wouldn't have got pushed your content, and this wouldn't have happened.
Come on, I love insane.
That. Actually insane.
I love to see it.
And you know what? Piggybacking off that then, so we want to know, right? So there's this question that, loads of people want to know, like, is it actually more difficult learning a language as an adult? because, you know, we hear a lot of people, and maybe you watching this, listening to this right now, it's that whole thing of like, I can't really learn a language, and it's this barrier, this block that we have in our minds, right? That it's a lot more difficult, a lot more challenging. So what are our thoughts on just basically learning an adult?
Can I take this one?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Mi
you may.
amor.
Because I tengo una respuesta, I have an answer. Would I say it is difficult to learn a language as an adult? Yes, but it is not impossible.
Okay.
Come on.
And if the
Underline.
only, no, 100%,
Highlights.
because if that's your only
Retweets.
reason for
Come
not
on.
learning a language, it's not good enough. Because as we were saying before, you go to university and by the time you graduate, you're also an adult. There are
Mic
things
drop.
that we learn as adults every single day.
Come on.
You can't tell HMRC, I'm sorry, I can't help you because I don't understand how to do my taxes. It don't make sense. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. You have to learn new things every day.
You do.
And a language isn't exempt from that list.
Okay.
We have the capacity to learn when you're an adult. Would it be easier if you were a child? Most likely, because you don't have something to compare it to. However, I think also in having another language, it can be beneficial for you
Absolutely.
as a reference point.
Absolutely.
So is it hard? Yes, but many things in life are hard.
Come on.
So if you're looking for ease, sorry, babe.
It's not for you.
It's
not-
not even that it's not for you, but if you're looking for ease, life in general.
Life's not for you. Really
Life in general.
Because things are not
Do you know what I
easy.
mean? So, yeah.
And on that point of life, just because I'm very mindful, like life, you may not feel like it's for you, but it's a beautiful thing. So we want to encourage you to live life to the fullest.
Of
is basically,
course, of
you know, what we're encouraging you
course.
to do, because we're not saying don't live life. Life is for living, and it's a gift.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
Paula.
That's so good. That's really good, actually. And I'm glad you said that. The age thing is interesting. So I don't really have anything to bounce it off because I literally was 23 when I started learning. But I will say, and I say this to you both all the time, I'm dyslexic. So learning a language was, I chose Pepe, as they would say in Nigeria. Like I didn't choose ease. Language learning has always been difficult for me. In school, they were my worst subjects. French and German were the subjects the languages we were taught. And both of them were the worst subjects for me. I was an A student by God's grace, but that was where I struggled. And I really tried hard. I even tried to do a language. I think I told you guys, I tried to pick up French at uni.
Oh, yeah.
I did a optional, additional module in French. And that module actually brought down my grade. And I was supposed to get a first. And then it brought down my grade. So when I tell you, languages are really tough. And the reason for that, the reason for that is I was diagnosed with dyslexia very late in my life. I think I was 22. I was in literally my final year of uni.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had to relearn how to actually learn. And as soon as I did learn, I realized I'm really intelligent. Like, I'm very smart.
Come on.
I just don't work the same conventional ways we're taught in school.
Yeah.
So even with learning Spanish, it's been great because as much as it's been really difficult, I have a lot of memory issues, etc. I know how to learn. I know that I need to hear Spanish, speak Spanish, listen to Spanish, watch Spanish. So that's why I watch things on YouTube. That's why I do Duolingo. That's why I have conversations with my friends. I can't just do one thing or I'm not learning this language.
Yeah.
I can't just do one thing. My phone's in Spanish. I read the Bible in Spanish. And yes, in the next episode, we're going to be talking more about resources. But for me, it was important for me to understand how do I learn Spanish as someone with dyslexia?
Yeah.
That's probably more of a hurdle than age because I've always been dyslexic. So if I was 10 and I started learning, it still would have been tough.
100%.
So I think for me, it's just finding out how you learn and making that more of the focus than, oh my gosh, I'm too old.
Come on,
Absolutely, that is perfecto. And I have this thing that like literally God just downloaded on me one day, and he was just basically like, difícil no significa imposible.
That's right.
Difficult doesn't mean impossible.
That's right.
You know, so basically based on what you've just said, like I don't even have that much to add. But
Well, what would you
know.
say about being older? There's issues like time. Like you don't have free time. You know, I made a joke earlier today as we were filming that there's all these kids that have all this free time these days. You know, no bills. They're not paying taxes. Like genuinely though, with age comes the responsibilities.
Absolutely.
How do you have the time to learn a new language?
That's a really good question. Do you know what? We're going to go deeper into this in like our next episodes because we're
100%.
bringing this episode to a close real soon.
Real
But I
close.
mean, just to answer that question, I believe everything is about making time. So for example, just to let you in real quick, so myself and Paula, we're working together in terms of, you know, getting closer to a goal that you have, right, in terms of Spanish speaking. And in this, you know, not to put you under the bus or anything, but being as we're being real here, right, and I promise you I'm not putting you under the bus.
Throw me under the bus.
Like, it was just a thing of like, you know, we had a goal that we were working towards, and you know, Paula's, and I'm using this as an example because it's real life. So people
this literally happened.
This literally happened, right? So Paula was just like, oh, her schedule was really, really busy and stuff like that, that you know, she didn't meet the goal. And I said, okay, cool, that's fine. You know, we'll carry on with the following week. And I asked her a question. I said, okay, cool, Paula, seeing as you were able to look at your week this week and realize that time didn't permit you to, you know, work towards the Spanish goal we're working towards, what can you take away from this week and carry into the next week? And she was then able to reflect on that. So the reason why I'm sharing this is because according to Paula's schedule, she didn't have time. But me asking her that question was like, how can you make time?
You prioritize what's important to you.
Exactly.
And I don't think we can ever force people to actually take Spanish as a priority. But once you do choose it as a priority, you actually want to make time for it.
You do. There we go. And making time for it doesn't necessarily have to be an hour, 2 hours. At the end of the day, if we think of this like a long haul journey, it's like I'm realizing, what did I do on the train? In fact, before our conversation that we had yesterday night, I read for 7 minutes, and that was my Spanish for the day. 7 minutes. The old I would have been like, 7 minutes no es suficiente para nada, no. Pero 7 minutes is better than 0 minutes the last time I checked. 7 was a higher number than 0 the last time I checked.
A word.
So it's like one of those ones where when we just shift our perspective on making time for it. So in all of this, the whole thing is just making time for the language. And that's how I would answer.
I love that. Well, actually, going on from that, because we've given you some real tips. They've been giving you some juice today. Some real juice today. But coming to a close, now you guys have a little bit more of a perspective as to how we learned Spanish, when we learned Spanish, and most importantly, why we learned Spanish. We want you guys to tell us your why also for learning Spanish. Definitely tell us por qué quieres aprender el español. We want to know, why do you want to learn Spanish? And now on to the next episode. In our next episode, we will be telling you guys about exactly how, the resources that we use to learn Spanish, and we can't wait to see you all there. Okay?
This is our first episode, by the way, and we are just really excited. Do we have like any like quick, rapid, you know, like, I don't know, takeaways? Like, I feel like we should do should we
like a takeaway?
What's...
So I would say finding your why helps motivate you to make priority to continue learning the language. That's one thing I think I've taken away from our conversation.
I know, right? Because we're
getting takeaways.
Honestly,
I would say age doesn't matter, because really and truly, you guys both started learning at 23, and I was in my late teens when I started learning. So I think, if anything, we are the evidence that age actually doesn't matter when you start learning a language. So be encouraged.
This really is a journey. You know, even journey in terms of like language learning, journey to us getting up here to recording. Amazing, you know, podcast, this video. Everything's a journey. And I guess I'll just say what I said earlier, which is difícil no significa imposible. Okay, which means difficult doesn't mean impossible. But we have had an absolutely amazing time being here with you. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media. And is there anything else I need to say, Diana?
Like, share, make sure to leave a rating on Apple. Yes. Help us a lot.
If you could, that would be great. And until the next episode, we are going to say ciao.
Ciao.